What's good, DJBooth.net? This is your boy DJ Blaze, and you're watching DJ Booth TV. And this is the full official video review of the Gemini CNTRL-7 digital DJ controller. Okay, everybody, here it is. The Gemini CNTRL-7 CNTRL-7 digital DJ USB controller interface. And basically what we have here is an all-in-one controller, 2-deck controller, as you guys can see here. And we also have the ability to use this unit as a standalone mixer, since there are dedicated outputs and line dedicated inputs that can be changed back and forth from software to live decks at your choice. We have a great compact controller here, really easy to fit inside of most laptop bags even, great on size. It's an all or mostly plastic construction, but with that, this unit actually feels a lot heavier than you would normally anticipate. At first, when I heard this was going to be a plastic controller, I thought that, it was just going to be a lightweight, small controller, and it is small, but it is lightweight as well, but it's not as light as you would think, and it really feels sturdy. It feels like you have a nice, heavy controller in your hand, even though it's still small form factor. So kudos to Gemini on the construction and the build quality. Everything feels solid. You got your solid jog wheels, you got your alpha quality faders here, you have nice EQ knobs, and we're going to go over all that when we touch upon this section by section. We like to go dive deep into these reviews, and we're not going to leave anything out. We're going to show you guys everything that this unit has to offer. So for overall impressions, the build quality is great. You got inputs and outputs. It can work as a standalone mixer or as a USB DJ controller, and you can do this with you can map this MIDI controller to any software of your choice. It comes bundled with a special edition of Virtual DJ, and it was very easy to set up out of the box. We're going to run this review with using Virtual DJ as the controller was intended, and we're running this on a Windows machine, 4 GB of RAM. And everything works as advertised. Very easy to set up. All you had to do was put the CD in. You press next a few times, put your serial code that comes in the box, enter that into the Virtual DJ software, and you're ready to roll. From the door, I didn't see any features that I needed to purchase another edition or a pro edition of Virtual DJ to unlock the features of the unit. Everything is unlocked. Everything that I needed to do on this unit was here and ready for me to do right out of the box. Didn't have to buy any other software or do any other complicated setups. Alright, next up we'll go over the inputs and outputs. And this was one of my favorite things about the CNTRL-7 was the sheer number of inputs and outputs. Usually controllers that are this compact don't have as many, and I'm very happy to see that they have provided us with a decent number of inputs and outputs at a great price point. So right off the front we see they have the headphone output. It's either the 1/4 inch or the 1/8 inch, and we also have your microphone input here. It's your choice of a 1/4 inch or an XLR. And on the front we also have the mic volume control, and we also have your headphone control and your Q1 or Q2 knob here on the front as well. And we also have a crossfader slope curve knob here. So this is all external, not within the software. Nice to have it right there on the actual unit. That way you can make changes on the fly. All right. Turning it over on the back. Now this is where things get good. A little interesting. We have here inputs, an input for line 1 or input for line channel 2, and you can turn these between line or phono level inputs. It's up to you. You have a switch on each one, so each one has its own ground post and its own switch, so you can independently switch these between a line input or a phono input. You also have 3 RCA outputs here. You have a record output, a master output, and a booth output. The master and the booth RCA outputs have their own dedicated volume control knobs on the front. We also have a DC input here and the USB input here. Now when you're running this unit off of just a computer, obviously you only need the USB to power it, but when you are running this as a standalone mixer or as a hybrid of both, you'll also have your adapter. You'll have your adapter switched on here, so that way you can get power to the unit without even hooking it up to the computer. So like we said earlier, this is a fully fledged standalone controller or mixer in its own right. And to prove the point, they've also added a nice set of balanced XLR outputs. Most controllers of this size, this price point, do not include your balanced XLR outputs, and even some of the more expensive controllers out there do not have a balanced XLR output. So big kudos to Gemini for that, because we like to have versatility. Okay, next up we'll talk about the actual mixing console. In this review, the CNTRL-7 mixing console is the different color portion here in the middle, and basically this is the area that you're going to use your volume levels and your faders in order to get your mixes on your decks is just right. So first off, when we're going to talk about the mixing console, we're going to talk about the actual crossfader, and this is an alpha body crossfader here, and they're overall decent crossfaders. It has a plasticky feel to it, but nothing unexpected here. The crossfader does have a crossfader slope control on the front, so everything is done actually on board instead of through the software. And the cut-in time on the fader is a little long at about 2 millimeters, but also with the crossfader there were some times where I would play a song, and if you do very rigorous movements with this fader, they will not register in with the software. So this is not really built for scratching. You can do some nice baby scratches, easy scratches here or there, but once you start getting real crazy with the fader, you may notice that you're not getting all your clicks in. So for the line faders now, these are very long line faders, good for your long accurate mixes here. They have a nice slide to them, no center click or anything like that. They have about the same resistance as the crossfader, but nonetheless very good for mixing, and they got the job done. Next up we have the load A, load B buttons. These buttons are here so when you're within your software and you have your track highlighted, you can just press load A to load the song into the left deck and load B to load the song into the right deck. And you also have this big oversized push knob, where in this knob you can just turn to go through the different folders or tracks that you have here, and you press the button in order to select it for one deck or the other. You also have a 3-band EQ here with full kill. You know, most 3-band EQs out there do not have the full kill feature, and when I mean full kill, I mean absolute full kill. If I'm playing a song here and I turn down the low, the mid, and the highs, you will not hear anything at all. So full kills along with gain knobs at the top here. We also have your line level VU meter, which is a backlit type meter that will display the decibel level coming out of each track. Also with the mixing console, as we said earlier, this is a standalone mixer, so you can also press the USB or line buttons here to change it between USB control, the software, or your external decks of control. So you can run a hybrid of both here, depending on how you want to mix with it. Also, we have the microphone in the front, the microphone volume control to the right, and the headphone volume control to the left, along with the cue knob, so you can cue either the right or the left deck depending on which one you want to go for. Okay, next up we're going to talk about the actual deck controls, and when we're speaking of deck controls here, we're referring to the left and right side portions of the mixer console. And the deck controls basically are responsible for track manipulation and also track playback. So the first thing we'll talk about here is the jog wheels. The jog wheels are small, but you know, as with any compact controller, they're going to be small so that they can fit everything in a nice small package for portability reasons. But other than that, they have a rubberized outer ring with indentures and also some stubbles on them, rubber stubbles here, so that way you can nudge and slow down just as much as you need for the accurate BPM mixing. But on top we have here what is just a great touch sensitive top. There's no pressure plate or anything like that, no wobbles or shakes. It knows when you're pressing the top, and when you do have the top press, you can see there's a little light here where the touch sensor will actually light up as soon as you press it, and that works perfectly. It was never off. Never once did it miss my hand movements or my touch. To go along with the jog wheel though, they're pretty good for baby scratching, but as you can see, they're not one-to-one. And there is a slight delay there. So just as with the fader, you know, these are not perfect for scratching, but what controller is? You know, controllers are really not meant for scratching. They can do basic scratching and basic back cues and back spins and things of that nature, but they're not really meant for scratching, and basically neither is any other controller. But just got to let you know that the scratching mechanism is not perfectly one-to-one, but it's really close on the jog wheels. Next up, we'll talk about the actual play buttons here. We have the play, the pause, the cue button to set your cues. We also have hot cue 1, 2, and 3 up top in order to recall your cue on the fly. And those work lovely, just as they should. We also have a BPM button here. That way you can set your BPM by tapping if it's off in any way. You also have your pitch slider here. The pitch slider is in 12% now. You can change that over depending on what you have selected in the virtual DJ software. We also have the pitch bend buttons, plus and minus. That way you can accurately get exactly to the right tempo that you need for the mix. There's also a booth volume control at the top. On this side, on the opposite side, there's the master volume control knob. We also have an effects section up top of each of the decks, and here we have an effect selector and an effect on button, as well as 2 parameter knobs to change the 2 parameters of the selected effect. We also have a sampler section here, which is a group of sample banks, a group of 12 sample banks, and they correspond to the light that's at the top there. So you can see which sample is being activated, and you also have a separate sample volume control knob up top as well. Also, we have your loop section here. You have a loop in, loop out, and you can grow your loop or shorten your loop accordingly. And you also have a scratch or search button here. Search is so that you can quickly go through your track in order to find exactly the place in the track that you want to be. It'll fast forward very quick or rewind very fast. And then we have the scratch button, which can obviously set it up to where you can scratch on the deck. If you have none of them selected, then you're just going to have a pitch bend type of effect here. Next up, we have the hot cues, loops, and samples. Hot cues are really easy to set. Once you play through the track, you set them up to where you want them, and they're easy to recall. Hot cues, and your loops, very easy as well. In, loop out, and you can shorten the loop or grow the loop. And we also have what we call the sample section, and this is the sampler display section up here. Each unit has their own sample section up top, and basically this is a set of 12 sample banks. I believe they're like 12 seconds or so each bank, where you can set up your own sample in these banks. It comes preloaded with a few here, and they're just normal saxophone sounds or what it comes preloaded with, or put your hands up.
Hands up in the air. Hands up in the air.
But you can use this for all types of things. You can put a bomb in one of those sample decks there, and you can just recall it and play it whenever you're ready. You have 12 banks here to set up. Not 12 banks per side, they'll both take from the same 12. So whatever you have set up on one side, the samples will be set up on the other side, and they'll be free for you to use. And there's a separate volume control here so that you can turn them up or lower it down depending on what volume level you want for that sample. Next up, we'll talk about the effects and then the program navigation. So for effects, the virtual DJ software has a nice set of effects already mapped to it, which include beat grid, flip and double, overloop, backspin, break, echo, and flanger. So one of my favorites, beat grid, very easy to start and stop. You have your two parameter knobs up top in order to select what you want to do here. Awesome effect. And next up we have the actual file navigation. And oh yeah, by the way, the effects cannot be combined. It's just one effect at a time per deck. So you can have two different effects playing on each different deck, but you can't combine effects on one source. So next up we have the actual file navigation, and for file navigation it's very simple here. You have a folder out button. This way you can transfer between your folders and your actual tracks, and then you can use this knob here, this oversized clicky knob, in order to select the folder that you want to go into, and then you can select the song that you want to go either into load A to deck A or load B to load deck B. Very easy to use, very simple. So in conclusion, the Gemini CNTRL-7 USB MIDI DJ controller has a nice compact and lightweight design, and it can also function as a complete standalone mixer. There's a separate set of booth, master, record, and XLR outputs, as well as an input for each of your channels here. So this is very versatile. It's definitely set for beginners because there's a good price point on it. The jog wheels have decent resolution. You know, they're good enough to do your basic decent scratching and your crossfader as well. There's a crossfader curve control, and you have a lot of good functions on here. A lot of functions that advanced DJs will use, like hot cues, loops, sample section, and your onboard effects. On the downside, the Gemini CNTRL-7 is not really meant for rigorous scratching, and neither is any other MIDI controller out there. The jog wheels just will not be able to go one for one with all of your movements, and the crossfader sometimes will also skip a beat when you're using it very rigorously. You're trying to do your crab scratches, you might only pick up the first click and the last click instead of the ones in between. The other minor gripe that I have with the unit is that the sound card cannot be used for DVS playback for external decks without an additional sound card. So to date, the only controller that can do this is the Traktor Control S4. You will actually need an external sound card in order to use this in conjunction with the software and your external decks, but at least this is something that you can use to grow into it. Beginners will be right at home here because they can afford it, one, and two, they'll still have all these features, and three, you'll be able to grow. You'll be able to grow because you have your inputs and your outputs there. So all in all, it's a good little controller. It's recommended for DJs that are on the go, you know, maybe a second setup for a DJ like me who has to go to the office some days has to go, you know, to a college campus or something like that. This might be good to take with me instead of my complete huge DJ setup. So all in all, we got a nice compact portable controller, and It has everything you need to get started and get you on your way. Comes with software, your cables, your power cord, and that's basically all you need to get set up. So thanks for watching. Tune in to YouTube. This is the username, Real DJ Blaze. We also have a Twitter page where you'll get all the newest news and updates on all the new DJ equipment that I'm working on. And that is following me at DJ Blaze _DJ Booth. And you can also check out the blog site, which is updated daily, Monday through Friday. And that's djbooth.net/DJS for DJs. Thanks for watching.